is Abong Ronald. I'm from Lira, my homeland. Lira is in northern Uganda. Hope to see my brothers, my sisters, and my friends I left there.
Abongo Ronald's mother, Anna, was murdered by the LRA rebels, leaving him orphaned at the age of 6. Ronald survived the rebels, starvation, and homelessness for 1 year. This is his story. In the 1980s, violent civil wars in northern Uganda, waged by the notorious Lord's Resistance Army, LRA leader Joseph Kony, and his rebels brought unbelievable horrors of death, malnutrition, disease, and sexual violence to over 30,000 children.
The LRA is an insane organization following its leader, who believes that he is a chosen person, that he is doing the Lord's will even though he's doing things that none of us can imagine doing to each other. He's power hungry, he's capricious, and he's very good at preserving his own life.
We're talking about Joseph Kony, who was, let me say, a rebel in northern Uganda. And Joseph Kony used to mistreat people in any way, as you know, a rebel can do. A rebel can kill people, leaving people homeless, taking young men, young children in the army to attack people, to burn down villages, making people to suffer.
The Lord's Resistance Army is one of these notorious groups that uses terror to maintain its influence and control. Their method was to capture, kidnap kids, 12, 14 years old, and threaten them with mutilation. The first thing they had to do when they were captured was they had to kill their parents and their brothers and sisters in order to ensure that they were criminal and that they had no one left in the world that would ever look for them. Then they were taken off into the bush, taught how to fight, taught how to serve the adult soldiers, and particularly the women, the girls, 14-year-old girls. This ultimately affected around 300,000 people in the northern part of Uganda.
As a person who is engaged in trying to understand the human cost of war, I'm also very concerned with looking at numbers in the sense of what they mean to those who went through the conflict. And perhaps the most important number is 1.
It was at this time that Victoria Nalongo Namusisi, the Chief Commissioner of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts in Uganda, and also the news editor working in the President's office, traveled to northern Uganda to write about the horrors committed against innocent people by the LRA.
As a news editor of my paper, I used to edit stories all the time from northern Uganda. I used to look at them, we used to discuss them in the newsroom. We made jokes about people killing each other. I didn't understand the magnitude of the whole story. And because we had censored journalism, our journalists never brought the pictures of the children who were dying out there. We only had, like, in case there was an attack when these journalists were there, you would have only those first-time stories.
We had a problem of the war in northern Uganda between the Lord's Resistance Army, led by Kony, and the National Resistance Army of the government, which killed so many people.
My dad was crushed with an axe.
Did you see that happen?
I saw it happening.
Did your little brothers and sisters see it?
All of us, we saw it. It was the war which was in northern Uganda by the LRA.
I remember the war was here in Uganda. I see very many people, they are dying. Others, their coin were killed, and others, they were burned.
I saw it when I was still young, something like 5 to 6 years. My grandmom, who was the mom to my dad, was killed because she was found in the house. Her husband was just shot to death, but my grandma was just taken on the road and they chop off her head. It was really bad and felt bad, but we had nothing to do about it apart from, if you remain alive, you have also to protect yourself.
But we were not seeing the actual picture of what was happening in what the government has set up and called the internally displaced people's camps.
Internal displaced persons camps contained tens of thousands of people, probably up to 100,000 or more at one point.
And whenever I heard about them, I was asking other fellow journalists whether they understood what an internally displaced people's camp was. Because I thought maybe it was like a refugee place. Then I said, but they can't be refugees in their own countries. Because when you are in your own country, how can you be in a refugee camp? But here we were, Ugandans within Uganda and displaced. And they were living in these internally displaced people's camps.
Due to an initiative to recruit scouts on a national level, and also to alleviate the suffering of children in northern Uganda, Victoria Nalongo set out on a mission to give these children a second chance at life.
I'm privileged to belong to the biggest youth movement in the world, and that's Scouting. I'm privileged to have passed through and learned about the values of Scouting, voluntarism in particular.
And in that sense, the Scouting movement for Victoria was both a vehicle, an organizational vehicle, but also it was a way of approaching a particular set of problems. And so she was able to mobilize Scouts where she went. Victoria Nalongo started with the street kids in the South and the girls and boys both, but also began very early on being concerned about the kids in the displaced persons camps up in the north, and being very aware of the fact that there was this lost generation that was neither being educated and in extremely poor health.
By going there with the Scouts, awakened me to so many sufferings. I was just invited by Scout leaders from northern Uganda, and they said, because at that time, while working as a journalist, I was at the same time the chief commissioner for Uganda Scouts. So the Scout leaders were telling me that when we come to the camp here in Kampala, we try to tell you people what we are going through back home. You don't seem to understand it. We want you to help us to raise more money to be able to do more as volunteers in the internally displaced people's camps.
We got interested in helping, especially the widows, those who had lost their husbands, and also the orphans. There were two types of orphans at that time. We had those who were left by the parents who had died out of HIV/AIDS. Then the second category of orphans were those who had lost their parents during the war, where the Lord's Resistance Army would come around, kill, and the people are left. And at times they are pushed aside. They didn't have anywhere to stay.
On July 31st, 2003, Victoria found an orphan who was naked, malnourished, and near death at the starch factory internal displaced people's camp located in Lira. This experience would forever change her life and a 6-year-old boy named Ronald Abong.
It was unimaginable. You know, you meet kids who are injured as they were running out from the rebels. They are rotting in the IDPCs. You meet kids like Ronald Abong. He had arrived in the IDPC 9 months earlier. All the clothes he came with were torn, but he's still going out there in the IDPC. He only arrived with a brother and sister, an elder brother and sister. His elder brother and sister would wake up every morning, go to town, and then wait for all the hotels, you know, to finish serving people lunch. Then they would collect leftovers, eat whatever they can eat, and bring back the balance to Ronald Abong.
Let me say that food is rotten. I just had to eat it because I was hungry.
Nobody bothered to give him clothing. He was about 6.5 years old. To me, he looked 3.5. Nobody cared about him.
I remember Madame Victoria coming to that safer place with a car and with some other, let me say, some other scouts.
When I found him, I had gone there with some British Scout friends whom I had invited from UK to come and see the work that required support in northern Uganda. Yeah, this is the mango tree where we used to come. We would park our vehicle there, then the ladies and they would be helped by the men to offload the maize flour, and they would make porridge for the children. Meanwhile, I'm seated here with my team of scouts, and that particular time, July 31st, we had come with 3 British scouts. One of them was a nurse.
And after them coming, they had to treat the people, they had to feed them as well because they were hungry. Now, as me, I was just there on the veranda, and I don't know how I came to know that these people are being helped by these people, because I never knew Mommy that time. And when she made a turn like this, she saw me and had to force myself to walk nearer them.
And somebody brings Ronald Abong and puts him next to one of the British nurses. And the lady lifts up Ronald Abong and says, "Victoria, what can we do to this boy? He has no injury for me to dress, but he looks horrible." The boy couldn't stand on his own at 6.5 years.
For me, I used to be in one place because I had no energy to walk, to run.
Then I came over to them and I went to the camp leader. They put him up there. We went at the starch factory. They called a gathering of all the camp members and they asked who the parents were. And they said, no. One woman said, "I remember we were running and his parents were killed."
We tried to take to the hospital, and there's no anyone can help me to take him to the hospital because when I was young also.
So I asked the camp leader whether I could take Ronald to the hospital, and he said, "You can go ahead and take him." We went back to the hotel. They served me my lunch after making the order. I couldn't eat it. I was thinking about Ronald Abong. I went to my room, got out some money, went and bought some second-hand clothes, rushed back to the IDPC, dressed Ronald Abong and took him to the hospital.
I was badly off. Mommy thought I was going to die. Now when we reached there, we went in the hospital, which was, let me say, it was famous in the whole leader.
And when I reached Dr. Otimu, I'll never forget his name because he was a wonderful doctor. Because when I reached there, I told him, "This boy is 3.5 years. He's about to die in the IDPC." He said, "No, the boy is 6. I said, "No, he's 3.5. He put his arm around and said, "If his arm is touching the ear, he must be 6+. Then I said, "Now what I want, forget about the age. I want him to be treated because he's sick." The doctor told me Ronald Abong was not sick. And I looked at the man and I told him, "If this boy is not sick, then you are sick." And he laughed. Because to me, Ronald Abong was very sick. Only to find out much later, according to the doctor, that all the swelling and whatever was on his body, it was because of sleeping out in the cold. And the doctor told me that if he continues in that condition, he has only 2 weeks to die. So the doctor told me, either I give you medicine, and the only medicine I'm giving you is deworming to get the worms out of his tummy because he has this big tummy, I know he has worms, and multivitamins. The rest of the medicine is you. The first night was a very difficult one because I was having him for the first time. I just wanted to bring Ronald here because it is at this White House where I used to think we are safe whenever I came. So I couldn't sleep. I was worried. I was like thinking he's going to die. So after getting him some deworming tablets and some medicine, I bought him some clothes and we spent 2 nights here. This is the place where I came immediately after getting Ronald Abong to the IDPC. I couldn't proceed with him to Kampala because I feared being arrested. So I came to this district headquarters. That was August 1st, 2003. And I asked for permission to take Ronald Abong back with me to Entebbe, but advised me to first report to the Probation and Welfare Office, which I also did. I reported there, and they also granted me permission to go with him. And that marked the beginning of Bright Kids Uganda's work in northern Uganda. I took Ronald Abong back with me. And after 3 months with us, he was actually coming back to life.
Ronald should be dead now. Instead, he's a thriving 17, 18-year-old kid who's a really good football player, smart in school, and has strong aspirations.
When we left from Lira, we had to sleep on the way when we are still driving. But when we came here at her place, I found some small guys like Grace, Saidi, those ones, Robert, Waswakato. What made me surprised that they welcomed me warmly, and I had to welcome them too. In Bright Kids we are many, and you have to make friends and you play around, because when you play around you can forget all the problems you have. I found what I was missing, the warmth like that. Her sign showed me that she loved me more than I could tell you.
You know, it is difficult when people are speaking a different language, even though they are trying to love you, but you don't understand the language. The food was different. I was giving him Irish potatoes and rice, like the doctor said.
She had to make me learn other food stuffs in Central. As you know, the Central guys, they like matoke so much. Now also me, I had to adopt their culture. On top of that, I adopted their language. I was the first I was a guy who liked learning other things. Now, when it came to Uganda, I had to learn it faster. I remember my mommy gave me a caretaker, and she used to help me walk. And after mommy bought for me a ball, and I had to force myself to kick it. After me kicking it, I started enjoying. From enjoying it, I started playing it seriously, and I had to start walking.
Bright Kid, that's where I met Ronald Abong. He could talk, he could even hit, can even run, can even do something good.
The first time I met Ronald, I was worried, because I looked at him as somebody who is not going to live anymore.
He looked like somebody old, eh?
They used to take him for medication. They used to breastfeed him using the artificial way. They used to provide him with anything that can make him grow up.
He was friendly. He was very friendly.
As a young boy, he started playing football all over with some other Black Kids boys.
I like playing football, I like playing number 1 goalkeeping, and I make sure that no goal passes on me. I catch it seriously.
And he's always with people, he's always with these other Black kids. He's always ever busy. So when he's like talking about the family, then he's flashing of how his parents were killed. He's a best friend of mine because I'm doing music. And that's the best thing he loves in life. I'm doing music and he loves music so much.
That's why I drum all the drums. Let it be the long drum, the big drum, all I can drum them.
Because whenever he's playing music, he forgets all about the history. So music comforts him. Whenever he's drumming, he forgets. Whenever he's like lonely, he calls me, we go with drum.
Yatunaza no musai tufuke balamu.
Yatunaza no musai tufuke balamu. Tujagulizeko Bright Kids Uganda. Katonda yebalenyo emyaka 15. Mazima sijamuzanyo.
When Ronald plays the drums, you can see his ever-present broad smile when he's with his Bright Kids family. But behind that smile are years of quiet tears. Memories of the LRA murdering his mother, the starvation and coldness of his naked body in the starch factory, and the ever-present fear of the rebels returning haunt him every day. Now, 12 years later, he knows he has to confront these unresolved fears and return to his mother's village in northern Uganda to meet his family for the first time.
It's his first journey back home since 2003.
Never forget you. Right ticket to Uganda, never let us go. We shall never forget you. Never forget you. Right ticket to Uganda, never let us go. We shall never give up. Never give up. Right ticket to Uganda, never let us go. You saved the earth from hunger, we thank you. You also saved us from poverty, we thank you. You also saved.
Yeah, I used to travel up through this area when going to northern Uganda during the wartime. And whenever I was traveling, I would not tell my family because my children would worry. You wouldn't know where the gorillas would emerge from. You wouldn't know anything. During the Kony War, I was passing through here. I would wake up from home around 4, so that I pass 4 in the morning, and I pass here very early in the morning in order to reach the IDPCs on time. You wouldn't risk traveling like late in the night or whatever, because the whole area was very dangerous. Quite a number of people in this area lost their lives as well as property, and it has taken quite a number of years to rebuild this part of Uganda. And I always used to come back with 1 or 2 kids whom I would find in the poor shape and without parents, so that I could try to bring them back to life.
Busy city roads gradually surrendered to the bumpy dirt roads, raggedly carved into the bush. Home, Owanji, is only a breath away.
You know, this was fertile ground for the rebels because the homesteads are so isolated. There are very few people, and the ground is almost, the whole land is almost empty. So it was good and easy for the rebels to train in here and to make attacks from here. And you can imagine how many miles people run. You can imagine for how many minutes we have been driving, more than an hour. We have been driving through this place where roads are no more, there are no roads, but people were staying here, so they had to run from here to be able to settle in town, in internally displaced people's camps for security purposes.
Familiar faces crop up behind the car Ronald rides in. It's his older brother, Akello, pumping a bicycle, smoothly pacing the auto, followed by a group of other friends. Ronald and Mommy Victoria arrive. It's a very emotional moment. Family members move towards Ronald and they greet him kindly.
That's a welcome.
He greets his family with apprehension, his face devoid of emotion when he shakes hands and exchanges a few words. As everyone is seated in the circle, a ragged tarp flaps noisily as it blocks the intense sun. Family members introduce themselves. They too remember the destruction and chaos of the Joseph Kony conflict. As each person greets Ronald, they too have the stoic face of survivors. Soon after the introductions, Victoria describes how she found Ronald at the starch factory.
When I first got Abong from the starch factory IDPC, he was almost dead.
Prior to his journey north, Ronald would repeat again and again, "I want to see my mother's grave." Here in Uwanji, surrounded by family members, Ronald is overcome with emotion.
We have decided to begin with a short prayer before we go there.
When he hears an elder announce that they will now visit her grave, Ronald knows he will finally meet his mother's spirit, the simple but loving woman whose life was cut short by a rebel's sword. As the relatives gather for the trek to the grave, the only sound is the shuffle of feet as the family walks on the earthen road and through the ever-present bush. As they walk, a hand reaches out to Ronald. The family forms a single line, one following the other, a link of memories, sorrows, support, and survival. Now Ronald is a part of this link, a link that came back full circle. The horrors of the past, the present, and now Ronald representing the future. Walking with his uncle, they greet Ronald's aunt. Ronald learns that she, along with his uncle, are the ones who buried his mother. The pilgrimage continues. Ronald's aunt joins the line of family members who will pay their respects to his mother. They all come to a halt at a large stone which marks the grave, almost hidden by the bush that was trying to hide the past. Ronald clears the bush away from his mother's grave so the memories will not be lost, and to free his mother's spirit so she too will not be forgotten. Bent over, Ronald is overcome with grief and tears flowing freely. The family looks on with a deep compassion and understanding of his lingering pain. This simple grave represents the thousands and thousands of graves, many unmarked, of those who suffered and were murdered by the Joseph Kony rebels. Victoria speaks to the mother's spirit, uniting mother and son after 12 years.
And I'm thanking you for bringing up this handsome son of mine, Abong. Today I have brought back your son because he has grown up calling me mom, but he has always known that his mom rests somewhere where she was buried. Today we are paying homage to you, we are paying our respects to you, and I promise that I will look after Bongo until he's a man and able to look after himself until he gets his family. And I promise that we will come back here to make sure that your grave is given the dignity that it deserves, so that Abongo's grandchildren and Abongo's children can be able to visit your grave whenever they want to visit it, when it is visible. May your soul rest in peace.
Leaving his mother in peace, the family opens their circle, and now with Ronald in the lead, They walk into their future. The LRA war in the North impacted an entire generation of youth, with thousands uneducated, living in poverty, and without a future. Ronald is a symbol of their hope for peace and a future.
As a politician, for me, I want to practice justice among people, because it is through justice that everyone come together and there will be no mistreatment of people's rights, because as a politician must be fair to each and everyone, because some of the people may say that I'm a northerner, I will just develop the northern side of Uganda, but no, a politician has to be fair, must develop each and every part of the country. Let me say Eastern Uganda, Western Uganda, Northern Uganda may develop it equally.
tulabye nnyo mututunda butunzi emitwe ne mugisaddaka kinnemye kye mukola abaana mwatuzaalira misango omwana takuta ekyo ky'omuwa wanaabengalo n'ozitemako ntadduke oyo yakulakyana nte enguudo tezibanyiga zifuuse mombozo olwakubanga twabulwa eddembe omwana wa Afrika ani alimuwa eddembe lye akule afune kye yeetaaga anaabe ennaku yeyeebase tulabye nnyo mututunda butunzi emitwe ne mugisaddaka